Okay, this is the first video of our Keychain project. We're going to start out with VCarve Pro because we have a little bit of experience in that software. So go ahead and open up VCarve and start a new file. The stock for this is going to be 1.625 high, and we're going to call it 2 3/4 long. Thickness is 1/4 of an inch, but that really doesn't matter because we're just going to export this as artwork, and our datum position just doesn't matter, but I like you to keep it in the habit of keeping it right there. Oops, I got those numbers backwards. So this is the 2.75 and this is the 1.625. Okay, so this is the blank of wood that you're going to get to make your keychain with, and I'm going to start out by showing you how to put some shape to that. So we could grab a rectangle tool, and I want it to be slightly smaller than this. So I can type in my values. My height is going to be 1.5, and this is going to be 2.625, and my anchor point is going to be right in the middle. So that would, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to hit create. Now it created that rectangle off over here in space. So I'm going to now select this and go to center it on my material. So now we've got a rectangle there that the laser cutter is going to cut out of my stock of wood. I could round the edges of that, which would be nice. So if I go into this fillet command, and maybe I can use 1/4 of an inch. If I come over here and click on these corners, it can round those out for me. That's one way of doing that. Maybe you don't want to make a rectangular shape. Maybe you want to make an oval shape for it to cut out, in which case, you could draw something like this. But you're going to stay within this workspace. I'm going to go with the rounded rectangle. You make a choice what you want to do for that space. Now we're going to use two different softwares. We're going to use this software to create the cutouts, and we're going to use Illustrator to create any engraving operation that we're going to do. So I need to cut a hole in this to put my keychain, to be able to attach my keychain. So I'm going to create a hole somewhere over here. I'd like that hole to be relatively close to the corner, but not too close. I'm going to make it a diameter of that hole to be 1/8, which is 0.125. And then the location of that hole should be far enough away so that it does not crack the wood. So I would say at least 1/8 of an inch away. So if this is an 1/8 inch diameter, then that distance away should be just fine. So somewhere in there is going to be where I'm going to attach my keychain. Okay. If these are the only cutouts that we need, that hole and this, we're pretty much done with this part right now. So let's save it. I'm going to say save as. I'm going to go to my IT folder in student folders, and we're going to create a new folder for us, for this project rather. So new folder and keychain. Open up that folder, and in there I'm going to say keychain outline, we'll call it, and I'm going to hit save. We're not going to be able to cut from VCarve, and we don't have any artwork yet, so the next thing we need to do is do a save as, an export as an EPS, or we could go as an EPS or an Illustrator file. Let's go straight to an Illustrator file. So if I select this, it's not going to do anything because I don't have anything highlighted. So before we do that export, we're going to highlight all of our work and then go to File and go to Export to Illustrator. we're going to put it in the same folder, and it's going to create an Illustrator file. We can get out of eCarve now and jump right into our Illustrator work, which is hopefully in our Keychain folder. Notice it's created an Illustrator file. If we launch that, we should have the same shapes. Don't worry about that. If you get an error message, just hit OK. So here we go. We've got our lines here. Now, in order for the laser cutter to actually cut, it needs to see these lines at a certain value. So first off, I'm going to go to Document Setup and make sure that our preferences for units are in inches. So up here, make sure that you're set up to inches for preferences. And then if we highlight this, we can change the stroke of those to 1/1000th of an inch, which is 0.001. So now they're going to be real thin lines. They're grayed out. That's what it's going to cut. Make sure that you don't rescale this by dragging any of these, because it's going to not be the right size when we go to cut things out. We may need to make some little changes as we go. Now we want to put some artwork, and our artwork needs to fit in here. That artwork could be something simple, like some text, and you can type in whatever text you might want to put in here. You can change the font, obviously. Pick a different font. You can make it different sizes, obviously. If you click in here, you can go up and down. Whoop. So that's not really appropriate font for Wildcats. Something more along the lines of Arial, I think, would be better. And I'll have to make it a little bit smaller. Okay, so I've got my font. This is a solid, which means that it's going to be engraved. If I could create this so that it was actually cut out. When you start cutting out letters, you have to be careful because the D, the center, will disappear. We'll talk more about that later. But let's just say that that's the text that I wanted. I'm going to save this file. And I'm just going to call this, just delete the outline part, because now it's going to be my regular file. Now I want to pull in some stuff, some artwork, and artwork can be engraved. It can be a JPEG or another file format. So let's say I'm going to go to the web and look for some artwork. Make that a separate video, so we'll save this one, and then we'll talk about putting some artwork in here.